Good morning, Stampers. It's Elizabeth, and welcome back to StampScrapAndMore.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Canada, and I'm trying to avoid the light coming through the window this morning. Thanks for joining me today. We are going to be playing with the Whimsical Trees stamp set and the coordinating dies. I did a Facebook Live earlier in the week where I showcased this bundle, or this whole suite, I should say. And one of the cards we made then, I'm going to recreate now for those of you that are not on Facebook. And I'm just going to show you some alternate projects. So let's get started. And I'll show you where I get sometimes where I get my inspiration from. Okay, so this is the stamp set, a really fun Christmas stamp set, wishing you Christmas cheer and magical moments that last all year. May the love of the season warm your home and fill your heart, and let your heart be light. Some fun trees. And it has coordinating dies. So this die, this die can overlap with this die. This die will cut out that tree. This die will also give you garland. What's that called? Garland that goes here. You can also add the garland onto this tree, but just cut down. You'd have to cut down the garland a bit. This die cuts out this tree. This die cuts out that tree. This die gives you garland for the smaller tree. This die cuts out the baubles here, and we're going to be using those today. We've got two really fun trees. I love these. They sort of have that woodland kind of cottagey look to them. And this die cuts out the holly here. You got to get it around the right way. Is that it? There we go. There, like that one. And then we've got a die that cuts out 8 little baubles for the tree, and then we have a die that cuts out stars for the tree. So that's what is in the dies, and the coordination also works with the designer series paper, but I'm not going to showcase that today. I may showcase that a different day. That's not the card. We're not going to be using any of the designer series paper in the card we're making today. But I do need this one. But I just wanted to, if you didn't see the video, the last video I posted, and again, it was using the same bundle. This was the card that I made using the Evergreen 3D embossing folder, and then these two dies. So this one with, whoops, let me get that out, with this one layered on top, and that gave you sort of that 3D effect, and then lots of red rhinestones. Or if you wanted to, you could die cut out the baubles using the silver foil or red foil paper, and you'd get a really pretty look. Or you can put clear rhinestones on it. That would be really pretty too. Okay, so let me put that aside. And where did I show you this? Where I got the inspiration for the card? I don't think I did. So this is the new catalog. Yay! I hope you love it as much as I do. And this is the card that we're going to recreate to a certain extent. I'd call this sort of casual crafter card, but we're going to step it up even a little bit more. So I'm going to show you, put everything on the floor beside me. I'm going to show you, so this would be the beginner card. Yeah, so this is just like a beginner. You're just going to stamp, 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 stamp repeatedly, color them in, and then stamp Light Your Heart, and the card is done. Right, so very sort of country-ish, country, is that what you call it? Country, very, very plain, very whimsical. That's it. That's why it's called Whimsical Trees, right? So this would be this stepped up card, and I'm trying to avoid the light again. So this is the stepped up card. So we've done identical, but we've popped these up onto the card front. But the card we are going to make is, I'm going to call it an avid crafter card. So this is it, and what I've done is I've matted it. It's somewhat similar to the one that's in the catalog, except for I think that's a slimline card. So I've matted it, put it on a piece of mint macaron, and then colored them all like I did with the others and popped them up. But then I added a little bit of rhinestones to the center of each bauble. So let's get started. I'm going to show you, of course I'm using the Stamparatus, because you can't get away without using the Stamparatus on this project. So I have a piece of mint macaron, which is 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5. I have a piece of evening evergreen, whatever, 3.5 by 5.5. And I have a piece of basic white that is 3 by 5.5. And then I have already die cut out. Did I do enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5 of the baubles that I cracked. One of them I bent. Okay, so I have my Stamparatus, and you can see I've already done this card a few times. I'm just going to move this a little bit so that I have a clean sheet here. Right here. I'm going to use this one here, because I want to show you my technique. I'm not saying it is the only way to do it, but it's how I do it. I'm going to take the bauble and I am going to nest it inside that negative space right there. And you can kind of feel it settle into that space. I have a hair that's bugging, that's on my lip. Okay, I'm going to pick this up and I'm going to add a little bit of ink to that stamp, and I'm going to stamp inside that negative space. And the reason I do that is so that I can see if I have it placed correctly. So I'm actually not 100% happy because I think there's too much clear space at the top. So I'm going to just bring this down a titch like that. And now I'm going to put the magnets back on. The reason I do this is so that I know if I've nested it in there properly. But the other reason I do it is because sometimes when you, if you're doing a lot, this template may move. So if it does move, I know I can put it back into the right orientation and not have to worry about moving the stamp here. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm going to lay that in. The one thing I noticed with this stamp is that if you press too much onto the bottom end of this, you may get too much ink right here. You'll see that. So I'm going to try and be gentle in, sorry, I moved that and now it's not straight. I'm going to try and be gentle on how I stamp it and how I press the ink down. And I'm going to be gentle. I want more ink up here. I'm going to be firm, but not push. And there you go. Okay, so I should have brought out my take a pick. Okay, there's one. This is the one I think I bent. And I'm going to do that 4 more times. I'm going to ink it up. And I'm going to stamp, but not push. Push on the stems because they're long and thin, and they will definitely splay. Another one. I hope you're all enjoying your day and you've had a chance to look at the catalog. If you are in Canada and you do not have a copy of the catalog, please don't hesitate to contact me at info@stampscrapandmore.com. I would be more than happy to get a copy of the catalog out to you in the mail with no cost to you. And one more. And you'll see by doing that, by pressing firmly but not pushing, I have stems that are not, it's my technical term. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside. And what I didn't do, I didn't cut a piece of Whisper White for the inside. Sometimes I have a piece cut already, but this time, of course, I don't. So let me cut a piece. And the piece on the inside is 4 by 5 1/4, standard size. And 4. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is make sure I have the one that I like. There we go, this one's better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to color all of the baubles. And I didn't have all of the colors that Stampin' Up! Recommended. I think that also called for Blushing Bride. I don't have Blushing Bride, so I know what a bad demonstrator I am. But I am going to use the Polished Pink Light and Dark, the Mint Macaron Light and Dark, the Evening Evergreen, a Light and Dark. I'm actually only going to use, no, I don't need Evening Evergreen, it's Mossy Meadow. Mossy Meadow. So it's not Evening Evergreen, it's Mossy Meadow. And I'm also going to use the Light Soft Suede. And I'm using the Light Soft Suede for, hold the baubles, I got them upside down, folks. I'm going to use the soft suede for the caps of each of the ornaments. You can also, if you wanted a silver look, you could also, you could do them in smoky slate. So I'm just doing the light soft suede. I found the dark to be too dark, and to me this has a gold tinge to it, and it looks like the gold caps on the ornaments. And we're just going to color each one of those in. If you, in the catalog, if you look at the sample, you'll see it's not colored in perfectly. It has that whimsical look to it, and I guess that's where they get the title, Whimsy and Wonder. And okay, and I'm going to show you what I mean by it has that gold look to it. Let me bring one of them up. There we go. So you see it looks gold. It has that gold look to it. If you really wanted to take it up even a notch, you can take the fine tip glue and color each one of them in so it has that sort of shine look to it, if you wanted to take it up even further. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the Mint Macaron, the dark, and on the sort of teardrop ornament. Or is it teardrop or bulb ornament? I'm not sure what it's called. No, this one I think is a teardrop. The ornament on the right. I'm going to highlight sort of the crease on the highlight part of the ornament, and then in the dark, and now I'm going to take the light Mint Macaron and I'm going to color that in, shading it, and I'm going to do that with all 5. This is like watching paint dry for those of you that are, but if you're crafting along with me, perfect. It gives you time to recreate your cards. Maybe that's something I should do. At the beginning of every video, I should say, okay, this is what you need if you want to craft along with me. I realized as I'm doing this that I must have had something on the stamp, because each stamp in the same spot has a little white spot. So if I look at the stamp, I bet you there's a dimensional back or something on it. Where's the stamp? Yeah, I didn't do a very good job cleaning it off, but that's okay. I'm going to cover it up anyhow. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the dark polished pink, and the center of each of this, which I wish is really the teardrop, I'm just going to color in the center. And I don't, like I said, I don't have Blushing Bride, and I think what Stampin' Up! Did was the rest of that bulb, they used Blushing Bride. I think that's what they used. But I am going to use the light polished pink. And just blend all that in like that. I'm also going to use the light polished pink on the last ornament that we just did, the center part of it. There's like a stripe, and I'm just going to use that as well. I'm going to do all of these first. And if you, in case you didn't know this, and I'm actually going to post it on the blog, Stampin' Up! Every year, it's available to demonstrators. I don't know if it's available to customers, or if it's on the website, on the portal to where you shop now. There's a recipe for every card in the catalog. And you know, I've never posted that before on the blog, but I am going to upload it there so that if you ever wanted to see what components Stampin' Up! Used to create a card, it's there. It doesn't have how to make the card, but it says all the colors and everything. One last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the light Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to just do a line. I'm going to show you on that bulb, on this bulb here, or right there. So in the bulb is mint macaron, then the center is light polished pink, and then there's a line on the top and bottom. I'm just going to really lightly do it in light Mossy Meadow, trying to bring coordination into all the ornaments. Yeah, need a steady hand for that. Okay, that was before coffee. Alrighty, so there we go with that. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to use light Mossy Meadow in the bottom bulb. And I didn't want to use dark because I thought it was too dark. So I'm using the light. And I didn't do it on the sample card, but what I am going to do is the center, I'm going to put the light, dark mint macaron. And that way all of the bulbs have that coordination look to it. And if you were to look at the designer series paper, these colors are all in the designer series paper. So that's what but the coordination of Stampin' Up! They make it so easy for us to be creative because they've done all the coordination for us. Of course, you can let your imagination run wild and do whatever color combinations you want, but if you needed a starting point, that's perfect. Okay, and then the last I'm going to do is the light mint macaron in the middle. And I'm also going to use the fine tip glue in the middle of this as well. But I'll do that once the card is all assembled, and give it time to dry. It's running. Let me go the other side because I think I need to replace my mint macaron. Yeah, that's better. I haven't put in my order yet, so I'm going to do that soon. So mint macaron, the blender pens will be on my list. Okay, so there we go. We've got the 6 baubles all pretty up. And I'm going to take, this is the piece that's going to get mounted onto here. All right. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to layer it in the center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's in the center like that. This is why I love my grid paper, folks. I'm going to, and I want the ornaments, I don't want them to go straight across. I want them to go up and down, up and down. So the first one, you know what, before I do that, I'm going to put dimensionals on the backs of all of them. So I'm only going to put dimensionals on the bulbs. I'm not going to worry about the string. It'll be fine. So I'm going to put dimensionals, baby dimensionals on all of the bulbs. And get that step done with. I'm just looking, you can tell I was really heavy-handed coloring this one because it bled through, but this one, it didn't bleed through. 1, 2. Because we're not putting dimensionals on the stems, on the strings, make sure you really do put all 3 dimensionals on each bulb. That I made this card multiple times, and you don't really not having up here like dimensionals, it's okay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the first bulb, and I want this one lower, right? So the one in the middle and the 2 on the outside are going to be lower. So I'm going to lay it down like this, and I'm going to center this string in the middle here. And let me point this out. And I'm going to, the middle and the 2 outer ones are all going to line up on this grid line, the first grid line. Like that. Then let me put this one like that. And then this one will be, oh, and make sure you've got it straight on the bottom as well, right? And then this one will be like that. So we've got, there we go. So you've got these 3, and they're all sort of on the same level. And then the middle ones are going to go on the level above. So this one is on this grid mark, and this one is on this grid mark. Okay, and the same with this one. It will be, oops, Elizabeth, like that. There we go, and that'll be on that grid mark. Okay, so that's kind of how we want it. So I'm going to start with laying the first one down, but before I do that, I'm just going to take my, what is that called? The color lifter, and I just goofed right here on the edge, and I went over the bulb. So I'm just going to take it off. It really does lift the color. There we go. And now, if you wanted to, really, you could go to each bulb and you could highlight the areas with the color lifter to take some color off. You get very artsy. Okay, so the first one I'm going to put in the middle, and it's going to be matching up that. And I'm going to put the outside one on the right, do the same thing. Match it up with the top. Like that. And if you really want to, you can put a little bit of adhesive on this piece here so that it doesn't move. But I'm not going to bother. And then this one, I'm going to lay it down like that. Alrighty, and now for the center ones. And when you put the center ones down, just ensure that they're sort of evenly spaced left and right with the ones on either side of it. this is the last one. There we go. So there's the ornaments, and now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to snap the edges off, or snip the edges off, like that. Okay, now I'm going to stamp in Evening Evergreen. Love this color. If you are a card maker and you're looking for a really nice green for Christmas trees and you don't have Evening Evergreen, you need to get Evening Evergreen. It's a gorgeous green. You know, I'm being brave here because technically I should have stamped it first. My blocks need cleaning. I should have stamped it first just in case I muck up, but I'm going to live dangerously. And I'm going to stamp down here, Let Your Heart Be Light. Love this card. I cannot tell you how much I love this card. There we go. Let Your Heart Be Light. Isn't that pretty? Love, love, love. Okay, now I'm going to mount this one onto here, like that. And then when we're done, I'm going to show you the card that's in the catalog, and we can just compare the two. They're identical in the layout, but they're not identical. So use the catalog as your inspiration. And we're going to keep it flush left and right, but evenly spaced north and south. And I'm again going to use my grid line. I'm going to make sure it's straight on the bottom. If you don't have grid paper, just use a pencil mark to create your lines. Okay, I'm going to use the first square. Going to line up the first square in the top. And then when I bring it over to the right, I'm going to make sure it's at the first square. And I always need to trim off a little bit extra. I usually cut my layers a little bit more, just in case. So I always say this so I don't have any white space showing. There we go. And now we're going to mount that to the card front, like that. But we're not done yet, you know that. We're not done yet. I find this to be a really fun card to put together. I love to color, and it's a really fun, I think it's a fun card to put together. In this case, I'm sort of in between two squares. Oops. And I need to snip off a little bit. You'll see I've got extra at the back here. You can use your paper cutter for this as well. And I made sure that when I should have mentioned it, that when I added this bauble to the right hand side, I made sure there was enough edge there, because I know I normally have to trim some off there, so I wouldn't cut the bauble. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp the inside, which has the may the love of the season warm your home and fill your heart, or yeah, I like that one. The trick will be getting it on straight. Okay. The trick will be getting it on straight and not getting my head in the shot. So ignore me if I do. Please excuse me, I should say. You can see my top of my head a little bit. There we go. I'm just going to put that aside. And then last but not least, well, not last, I need my rhinestones, and we're going to add a rhinestone in the center of all of the polished pink ornaments. And then I'm going to take my fine tip glue. Now the fine tip glue, now that I'm talking about it, I need to call Stampin' Up. For some reason, does not appear in the annual catalog anymore, but it's still available on the storefront. So I'm not quite sure if that was an oversight. And there, we do have, as demonstrators do have like a catalog correction page, and it doesn't appear on the catalog correction page either. And then I'm going to take the fine tip glue, and the center of this, I'm going to, there's like a swirl. I'm going to swirl in the center of that ornament, like that. And then, you know, I'm going to do hashtags in the other one that's polished pink. I use fine tip glue all the time. And I know some people who do not use it at all, don't like it. The tip to the fine tip glue is to make sure when you're done, pull any adhesive off, put your finger underneath, add the pin, and make sure the pin is in there. So put your finger underneath, put the pin on the top, and match the two together. Whoops, oh, that was easier said than done. There we go. Oh, Elizabeth. You know, I do it all the time. There we go. And I've never had a fine tip glue dry out of me, ever. So that's the card. Isn't that cute? You see the light coming through there? I love this card, and it's got a little bit of bling to it, and I should have added this on the inside before I added the glue, but that's okay. I'm just going to do that now. And it's just evenly spaced. Usually do it with two hands, but there we go. That's today's card. So I hope you enjoyed that card, and I thank you for joining me today. And next up will be a Halloween treat box. Take care. Hope to talk to you soon, and happy stamping.